highly educated. We won with poorly educated. I love the poorly educated.
This guy's a joke artist, and this guy's a liar. I'm beating him awfully badly in the polls. If I can't beat her, you're really going to get killed, aren't you?
Throw out everything you know about presidential politics, because this year is very different. Now he's repeating himself.
No, I'm not repeating. No. I watched him repeat himself 5 times 4 weeks ago. And
I saw you repeat yourself 5 times 5 seconds ago.
We can't get this wrong.
If you want to be liked in Washington, that's not a good attribute for a president.
Can somebody attack me, please?
Here.
My party is going to bat crazy.
We have the forecast for Super Tuesday with the experts who nailed it this year. Insider Advantage founder Matt Towery and Republican strategist Adam Goodman have their picks. We'll also map out the Democratic race as both sides gear up for 24 states in the next 3 weeks.
And of course, Florida's a winner-take-all state, be the first one.
Plus, we'll break down the dirty tricks that backfired on Ted Cruz and the rumors in Washington that put Rick Scott in the running for vice president.
Oh, gosh.
This week, the Ted Cruz campaign may have pulled the dirtiest trick of the year.
It's incredibly disturbing.
They wanted us to believe that Marco Rubio would walk up to Ted Cruz's father, trash the Bible with cameras rolling, then just walk away.
Yes, sir.
Rubio pointed to the good book and said, "You'll find the answers in there." But a bad subtitle and garbled audio made people think he said, "You won't find many answers in there." It's the old bad lip-reading shtick from Seinfeld.
This place is going to be a mess.
Well, maybe you can stick around after everybody leaves and we can sweep together.
Why don't you stick around and we can sleep together?
What?
Anybody can do that. One bad subtitle can make it look as if Rubio is bragging about Hillary Clinton's qualifications.
Hillary Clinton is disqualified from being commander-in-chief.
Or we can make it look as if Ted Cruz is just spewing nonsense.
Stop cutting deals with our freedoms.
Dirty tricks are nothing new in politics. Just remember Watergate or just look up Santorum on Google.
Go Google Rick Santorum.
On second thought, don't Google Santorum because his critics turned it into something not safe at work.
Some people thought that it would be a big joke to make fun of my name.
The Cruz folks had nothing to do with that, but after pulling 2 dirty tricks in 1 month, it does not look good.
I think everybody's going to be completely shocked.
First, the Cruz camp tricked Ben Carson supporters into voting for Cruz by misleading them into thinking Carson quit. These are actual phone messages.
Dr. Ben Carson will be declared suspended campaign following tonight's caucuses. It's very important that you tell any Ben Carson voters that vote tonight that they not waste the vote on Ben Carson and vote for Ted Cruz.
This is a problem for Cruz because it undercuts his message.
We are instead, from the beginning, running a campaign where we're taking the high road.
And it plays into his rivals' claims that Cruz is dishonest.
This guy Cruz lies more than any human being I've ever dealt with.
And when Rubio piles on and Cruz strikes back primarily at Rubio, you get the guys fighting for second place tearing each other apart, which plays right into Trump's hand.
I've never heard a politician call another politician a liar.
To his credit, Cruz fired his spokesman for claiming Rubio mocked the Bible.
This was a grave error of judgment.
And Cruz says his staff will run a clean campaign, but dirty tricks may have cost him because it makes him look bad at a very bad time for him. 11 states will weigh in on Tuesday, and if Cruz or Rubio cannot make a stand, Donald Trump could turn out the lights.
No, get those lights off. Off. Turn off the lights. Turn off the lights.
Okay, please welcome Republican strategist Adam Goodman. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
Let's start with Ted Cruz. These dirty tricks, to what extent can this be hurting him in the results we saw in Nevada and looking ahead to Tuesday?
It probably stops his momentum a bit. You know, it's one thing to have an isolated incident happen that kind of knocks you off stride for 24 and then you're back on your horse and riding again. The problem for Cruz right now is it looks like it's beginning to appear as if it's a pattern of behavior.
And if Cruz does not win Texas, is he cooked?
Well, that's his Maginot line. That's the line over which if he can't cross, I think everyone starts to question his viability. The same thing with Marco. Marco's Maginot line is right here in the Sunshine State of Florida on March 15th.
Can he hang in there if he doesn't win then?
I think so, but what is, I think, been exaggerated, Craig, and we've heard a lot of this in the last couple of days, is, well, now that Jeb is out, the establishment will now coalesce behind most likely Marco to stop Donald Trump. I think that's an exaggerated idea. Number one is Trump is moving from being a candidate to a movement. We saw that in Nevada. Number two is not everyone automatically is going to jump from Jeb, who people adore, to Marco simply because of a practical consideration. I think this is a different kind of election where the establishment is having a tough day and the outside is having a field day.
For now, you have a lot of endorsements that are just rolling in, a flood of them for Marco Rubio, and a lot of money as well. But you know who else had that? Jeb Bush. You know how that played out for him.
Please clap. That's it? Thank you. They're kicking me out the door.
With that in mind, are all of these endorsements and this money from the GOP donor class helping Marco Rubio that much?
Usually you think money, message, and endorsements are three of the key ingredients of success. Unfortunately, endorsements right now just emphasize, Craig, you're with the establishment. And I think Nikki Haley, you could argue, maybe moved Marco from third to second by a couple points in South Carolina. Abbott from Texas, the governor, just endorsed Cruz to try to, I think, save Cruz in his home state of Texas. But I think what they're doing, unfortunately, is they're emphasizing for both the fact that they are coming from the establishment, from the inside lane, and that right now the American electorate, certainly the Republican electorate, is moving very swiftly in that outside lane.
So I'm thinking about Donald Trump saying that he wanted to punch a protester in the face.
He's walking out like big high fives, smiling, laughing, like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
Is there anything that he could say or do at this point that could really cost him?
You would think that the 301 things he's already said and done would have cost him dearly. They have not. So I think my opinion, like a lot of others, has changed. And the reason is the mood of the country. Craig, the electorate has changed on us. It hasn't just been the candidates changing, it's the electorate. They are really angry, upset, frustrated with the system. They want something done, and they're looking for anyone, any leader to do that. That means partisanship and ideology is flying right out the window right now in favor of the indefinable ingredient called the right stuff. And right now, Republicans think they're starting to find that with Donald Trump.
What do you see in the Democratic race? Is there anything that Bernie Sanders can do right now to make a game of it, in particular in the South?
I think he should go and feed the FBI with as much information as he possibly can on Hillary, because I think the only thing that's going to stop Hillary is the Department of Justice.
What about a preemptive running mate, an African-American running mate, perhaps from the South?
You mean in terms of Bernie?
Yeah.
That would help. But, you know, I think the African-American community has a sense of a long history with the Clintons, and a good one. With Bernie, it's more of a kind of a shot in the dark. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. I think that counts for a lot with that community in America. I think it's going to be hard to shake with just an appointment or a naming of someone who might possibly run with Bernie.
Let's go back to Florida. March 15th, Jeb Bush will still be on that ballot. And a lot of people voted in Florida before he dropped out. What do you expect Jeb's vote to be in Florida, and to what extent could it cost Marco Rubio?
We might be looking at 20,000, 30,000 votes that have already been cast early for Jeb that are not going to count. Those are votes that could have gone largely to Marco. They're not available to him anymore.
You think that could potentially tip the balance?
Very much. In a close election in Florida, absolutely. And what an irony it would be that one of the home state kids ended up inadvertently costing the other home state kid a chance at the White House.
Adam Goodman, great insight. Thank you for your time.
Always enjoy it.
Coming up, our Fox 13 pollsters earn national headlines for being right when others were wrong. So we'll reveal their projections for Super Tuesday.
Mr. Ted was called a wacko bird.
I am a very, very proud wacko bird.
And in our parody segment, it's story time with Ted Cruz and this week's Trail Tales. We correctly predicted the early states because our Fox 13 and Fox 35 pollster Matt Towery has been on a roll. When the other polls showed Trump winning Iowa, he saw Cruz making a move.
The polling that we're doing is showing Cruz adding to his numbers in most places.
Matt and his son Matthew Towery earned national praise for being closest to the actual results in Iowa. Then Matt called it for us in the other states.
This makes back-to-back victories for Trump.
Again, in South Carolina, they nailed it. They produced one of only 2 polls to correctly predict the top 4 in order: Trump, Rubio, Cruz, and Bush. And after they helped us through Nevada, they focused on Super Tuesday.
Okay, let's bring in our Fox 13 pollster, Matt Towery. You've done the numbers in Georgia. How is it looking? Barring a major turn of events, does Trump have that one in the bag?
Well, it looks like it. You know, it's interesting, Craig. Georgia seems to mirror South Carolina and its results in the fact that Trump is up by about 12 points. In second place is Marco Rubio. Just slightly behind him is Ted Cruz, and the other candidates way behind. One thing we have to remember, though, is that there are other names still on the ballot, including Jeb Bush. So the numbers for Rubio might be slightly different than what we're seeing. Some of those early votes have already been counted. And also, I might note, Trump's early votes have been counted. He was leading in early voting by a large margin.
Trump is leading in the polling among seniors and evangelical voters. Why is he leading with those voters?
Boy, I tell you what, I think because evangelicals in South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, that region of the state, along with the areas in South Carolina, in Florida where we have evangelicals, they tend not to be those who vote purely on religious issues alone. They are motivated on very conservative principles, and Trump, for whatever reason, seems to be tapping into that more than Cruz is, who's viewed as the evangelical candidate.
And for Bush supporters who vote after Bush dropped out of the race, where is that vote most likely to go?
Well, we got a little indication because John Kasich got a bit of a bump. He's at 9% in the polls in this particular poll in Georgia. So he's going to get some of it. And I would expect Marco Rubio will receive the rest of it. There really has been a movement in Georgia and a lot of other states, obviously, including Florida, for the Republican establishment that was supporting Jeb Bush to now turn their attention towards Marco Rubio, and they're closing ranks very quickly. Whether it's going to show in the polls in these SEC primaries and Super Tuesday, I don't know.
Now, let's broaden it out beyond Georgia. How is Super Tuesday looking? How will this end up? How's it looking for Trump?
For Trump right now, it looks like he'll be doing very well in the SEC states. He'll be doing well, oddly enough, up in Massachusetts, where he has a huge lead. Texas is going to be problematic for him because Cruz does have a lead there, and it becomes sort of a winner-take-all system. It's a very odd system that they have, a primary out in Texas, but Cruz can come out with a lot of delegates from there. The other states are looking Trump right now.
With the possible exception of Texas, which could go to Cruz, do you think Trump can run the table and all the rest?
Well, he certainly can run the table enough to get into the other winner-take-all states, and I think he'll win a good number of those because clearly if Massachusetts is going Trump, a lot of the more semi-moderate states are going Trump as well. Florida is going to tell the tale, though. Our Florida primary will decide what this race ends up like because Marco Rubio has to win Florida. If he doesn't win Florida and Trump takes it, then I think it's over.
And I know you're going to be polling Florida for us, so I want to thank you for your work on that count and for joining us here today. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Coming up, could Donald Trump really pick Rick Scott as his running mate? We'll show you how those rumors got started, how Scott could help or hurt, and what Trump thinks about our governor.
Okay, we have to call out Donald Trump for what he said this week and what he claims he would never say.
I will build a great, great wall on our southern border, and I will have Mexico pay for that wall.
But this week, Mexico's former president said no freaking way, though he used stronger language.
I'm not going to pay for that wall.
And when Trump heard him use the F word on TV, he could not believe his ears.
Well, I thought it was disgusting, the word he used. And you know, Eric, because you've been always so fair to me, you know that if I would have used that word, you wouldn't even be interviewing me right now. I would have been banned from television.
Well, Trump has every right to be offended by foul language, especially the F word on TV. There's just one problem.
Tell them to go themselves.
Is the first time I have ever seen a presidential candidate make use of the F word while campaigning.
No, I didn't use the word. I never said the word, Bill. I don't know who told you I would never use the word.
You're not going to raise that price. You understand me? Listen, we're going to tax you 25%. We're going to knock the out of ISIS. I don't give a damn. They're ripping the out of the sea. You can tell them to go themselves. We'll beat the out of them. But it's political bull. Whoever the hell brought this mic system, don't the son of to put it in, I'll tell you. She said he's a That's terrible. A wet raccoon doesn't have $7 billion in the bank.
If I would have used that word, you wouldn't even be interviewing me right now. I would have been banned from television.
Well,
Well, Trump has definitely not been banned from television, and as he surges into Super Tuesday, people are already speculating about his running mate. And a writer with the Washington Post got the media spinning because he suggested Trump could pick Rick Scott. So for the pros and cons, let's start with a look back to why he may not want to do that.
We have an ambitious agenda to keep Florida working and permanently eliminate the tax on manufacturing equipment. On top of that, there will be $20 million in for our technical centers.
Our governor has also had some trouble answering questions.
But did you think it was a problem to have on-duty law enforcement there?
I'm very appreciative of both their support and those that come to my events.
So do you think it's okay for them to be there on duty?
I'm very appreciative.
And he sometimes gets cornered.
It'll be the 700,000, plus what would be normal. It's on top of that. On top of what normal growth would be. I don't know who said that. 700,000 on top of. No.
And he's had his share of awkward moments, like the time he walked up to a King Racton scandal for shooting an elephant and asked about the elephant.
I've ridden elephants. I've never tried to shoot one.
And his interpretive dance.
Cue music.
It was very pleasant to watch, and I think you should be given the opportunity.
But on the other hand, Scott, like Donald Trump, ran against the establishment and won. He won 2 elections in the nation's ultra-battleground state. The economy has improved on his watch, and Trump has noticed. Check out his tweets. Just left Florida. Amazing how well the state is doing. Jobs way up, taxes down. Congrats to Governor Scott. And Governor Scott is doing a fantastic job, not only hosting the RNC convention, but managing Hurricane Isaac, a true leader. But then again, Trump has also ripped Rick Scott. For example, thought Florida Governor Scott was a better negotiator. The Seminole Indian gaming deal is a disaster for Florida. And Governor Rick Scott of Florida did really poorly on television this morning. Hope he is okay.
Oh, gosh. What I'm focused on is my job here. I've got 3 years left in this job.
But either way, that Rick Scott running mate talk is just wild speculation from a Washington, D.C. writer who was just throwing out names. Trump's running mate may be very hard to predict because Trump can be very unpredictable, and that's driving part of his appeal.
I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody, and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay?
Trump once mentioned another Scott, Scott Brown, as a possible running mate. He has said he may lean toward picking a politician since he's a first-time candidate.
Coming up, we have fun with candidates in both parties, and this week it's Ted Cruz's turn.
Could you, would you, with a goat?
The untold story of the Texas senator is next on Trail Tales.
If you killed Ted Cruz on the floor of the Senate, and the trial was in the Senate, nobody can convict you.
Yeah, that's Lindsey Graham cracking jokes about Ted Cruz, because Cruz may not be that popular among his peers in the Senate, but Cruz wears that as a badge of pride, and that's driving part of his appeal. So since we like to have fun with candidates on both sides, both parties, we bring you now story time with Ted Cruz in this week's Trail Tales.
It's time now for Trail Tales.
The proud wacko bird.
It has been suggested that we are wacko birds.
Mr. Ted was called a wacko bird, and it made him very proud.
I am a very, very proud wacko bird.
As he grew up, he dreamed of changing the world.
Take over the world, world domination, rule everything, rich, powerful, that sort of stuff.
So he ran for office and made some ads.
I've looked at the candidates. Ted Cruz is my man. He fits the bill.
Sometimes he makes us laugh.
Could you, would you, with a goat?
And sometimes he tries to scare us.
Mike Lee, I am your father.
But in this story, Mr. Ted wants to bring us hope.
Median incomes have stagnated for over a decade. Let me start over.
Uh-oh. In this story, he wants to bring us hope.
I'm here tonight with a word of hope and encouragement.
So he delivered a message about the world.
We love the world!
Mr. Ted said the world... Ew.
What did he say?
The whole world's on fire. The world is on fire. Yes. Your world is on fire.
He said the world is a beautiful place and he loves kids very much.
And do kids love him?
Hey, let's hop out of my street.
We're taking it.
Yeah. And so he gave his mommy a hug and set out to change the world.
I love you, Mom.
Love you too, dear.
One more hug.
I love you, Mom.
Here we go. And hold for a second.
As a proud wacko bird in a wacko kind of year.
And again, we have fun with politicians across the aisle. And we have other trail tales, by the way, with other candidates. You can check them out online on our Facebook page. Look up Fox 13's Craig Patrick on Facebook. Like our page, then watch the segments that you may have missed. You'll find humor pieces along with serious investigations, interviews, and insights. Catch up on prior shows as we head into Super Tuesday. Of course, we are a long way from finished. We will bring you live results as they come in on Tuesday night. We'll see you then.